Here. All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining us tonight for our first community meeting on Los Alamos Mesa Trail Rehabilitation Project. Most of you know me, I'm Eric Peterson, Los Alamos County Open Space Specialist. We have Sierra in here with Bohannon Houston. They are a consultant that was hired to help us come up with a new design and fix some of the issues we face here with Los Alamos Mesa Trail. So we've got a presentation for you today that talks about kind of plans, what we've been doing, and next steps on this project. So I will turn this over to Sierra and let her give the presentation.
Thanks so much, Eric. I'm Sierra Lithgow. I'm a planner at Bohannon Houston. We are based in Albuquerque, and online I have joining me our engineers on the project, Jared and Tyler. So if we have more technical questions, they can go ahead and speak up and speak to that. So I'll just start off by telling you a little bit about the scope of work for this trail rehabilitation. The Mesa Trail right now is currently an asphalt trail. And so what we are doing is preparing construction documents to help upgrade that, repair a lot of the asphalt on the trail, rehab it, and bring it up, most importantly, to ADA standards. So right now the trail is a little bit too rocky for it to be ADA accessible. There's a pinch point that is difficult for navigating as well. So the scope of work is really to do full site design and details on that. And then also to look at potential extension to a very small part, a very small leg of the trail as well. So just getting us acquainted with the project area. The trail really starts around the, well, I guess you could start it on either end, but you start around the left side of the screen here. We have the Los Alamos Assisted Living Center. We have a small little hook there coming from East Park, and then it goes along the Mesa and kind of dead ends into a dirt trail by the Los Alamos Airport. And then this is the Mentimeter question. So we're gonna have to switch screens here. If you guys are tech savvy, you're welcome to join me online and pull out your phones and scan the QR code. But if not, just please feel free to shout out your answers. I was doing this so that we could be, inclusive to the folks who are online as well, given their opinions. So we're gonna bear with us as the screen share changes.
For it?
I have to drag it over to the other screen.
I could.
We had a fancy plugin, but we ran into some technical difficulties.
It's not wanting me to do.
Well, that's okay. I remember what the question was, so I'll just go ahead and ask it.
Sorry.
And you guys can shout out your answers. One of the first questions I think was, how do you use the Mesa Trail today? Do you go to walk your dogs? Do you go for exercise? I know there's some exercise paths along the trail or exercise equipment along the trail, so please let us know how you use it today.
My wife has knee surgery.
So when she has knee surgery, you go there so that she can rehab, walk it,
Roll along.
roll on and walk. Awesome. For exercise.
Sorry, we do need you guys to speak into microphones, so that.
Sorry about that.
Won't do that.
Exercise.
They use it as parts of a lot of loops. So like to take on that trail, and loop over to the Canyon Rim Trail, or loop down into Graduation Canyon. So it's kind of right in the middle of things that connects to a lot of things.
Do you primarily hike or bike?
Hike or walk, yeah.
Hike or walk. And then if you take your dogs there too, I'd like to know that. Anyone online? Or do we just have?
Just your
Okay.
folks.
Okay, we can go to the next slide then. So existing conditions along the trail, you guys are probably pretty familiar with that, but we can see in these some cracking in the asphalt and some attempts at repairing them. But for folks who are maybe riding a bike, those can be a little frustrating to roll over, or for people who are in a walker or in a wheelchair as well. This is that tight corner that I mentioned here where it's a really tight loop. And then it's also a kind of major grade change that doesn't meet, current accessibility standards. So this is one of the areas that we'll be looking at reconstructing and possibly realigning as well. So go ahead to the next slide. Just showing a little bit more of the existing conditions along the canyon. We see that there are some areas where there's a little bit of a pinch point, in terms of the ability to go a little bit wider. So this trail, rehab project is gonna go a little bit wider in places where we have room, but along certain parts of the canyon edge where we don't have room, it might stay at that current 8 feet configuration. And then here we see the end of the trail as it goes into that dirt trail, talking about how you use it as an extension or as a part of a loop to get to other parts of the trail. And again, some more asphalt that's coming apart from the existing trail. So the existing gym equipment that is currently there is gonna be staying. There's one that just needs to be relocated around the area where the pinch point is in the curve. But we will relocate it, at a later date, TBD. When we are getting further into design, it'll probably make more sense where to relocate it to. So I've been talking a little bit about realigning here. We're gonna see that this trail, you can see the old version over here. We're just extending it a little bit to the south. Sorry, I made this rock here. We're extending it a little bit to the south so that we can widen that loop, and then the folks can, you can have the grade change a little bit easier as well. And then down here, at the other side of where the airport is, there is, we're gonna look at the alignment. This is not a final alignment, this is potential, so we're still looking at what makes the most sense from an engineering perspective. But the idea is to extend it to the airport parking lot. So airport has a project right now where they're doing some sidewalk extensions in the area, so we wanna kind of help create that connection between the airport parking lot and the existing trail system. That is another one of my questions, and I don't remember what that one was.
That's
so you
okay,
might
let
help
me help you out. In just a second. Okay, let me see if we can. Just remove me. So the next one was, as a trail user, how do you feel about concrete surfacing?
All right, yeah, so one of the,
What was the question?
Oh.
That was the question.
As a trail user, how do you feel about concrete surfacing?
you have thoughts, you have opinions, you shaking your head?
Avoid it whenever you can.
Oh,
Because, you know, that, I mean, we seem to be concrete happy in this town on things, but
oh, you're right.
like it, I understand why people like that smooth surface and all. On the other hand, I really like what was done at Kenny Park, which my understanding is that was determined accessible and usable, and it doesn't use any concrete. So I'd really like to see it avoid any more concrete.
I think we had some thoughts up here in front here. No,
The urban part of the trail is concrete, and I still feel like I'm walking through the city. At the aquatic center, they use gravel. So I prefer it to be more natural.
Corey. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna, because we have somebody online. One of the individuals online said asphalt is easier on the joints.
all right, we can go to the next slide, and I think that question was a little bit out of order.
It was, I'm
Okay,
so
that's
sorry.
okay, did you see the one that
Yeah.
was meant to be there, which one was it?
As a trail user, what is most important to you in selecting a surfacing material?
Okay, yeah, I think there was that intro slide, so maybe we could talk about that a little bit. So we kind of heard a little bit about that from some of your answers, but when we're looking at selecting a type of surfacing, what is the most important when you're looking at it from an accessibility perspective, from, you know, smoothness of riding? Is it the more naturalistic? We have a lot of different ways that we can approach that, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I seem to prefer gravel over blacktop.
I'll take the middle road and say the asphalt beats concrete and probably gravel for the reasons, the trail is pretty steep. I'm not sure the gravel would hold as well as it would.
Yeah, like in that, when I think about that trail, the steep parts, I think asphalt's totally appropriate, but there's a long, flat stretches of it too. But I don't know, I don't know that it makes sense to tear up the asphalt or not, or if that's what's being considered. But if you were, I'd sure go with like the crusher vines, and again, look at what was done in Kinnikinnick Park over by the pool as possibly a model. I don't know how well that's working. I'd like to also say I'm totally supportive of the idea of accessibility and trying to make it so it works for a very broad range of people.
Thank you. Any others?
And one more, there's a utility, access along there. I think it's a sewer line. I'm not sure how that would be, if they needed to do some maintenance work, but they have to tear it up. I don't, what the rules were when we first built that trail.
Anyone else? Anyone online? All right, well, we are currently looking at a hard surfacing for that accessibility reason, and possibly for the grade reasons that you pointed out of pressure fine, making sure that that works on that grade. But we're currently exploring the options between concrete and asphalt. As I mentioned earlier, we're looking at an 8-foot to 10-foot path with 2-inch or 2-foot benches on either side, sometimes it's also referred to as a shoulder. And then at pinch points near the canyon edge, the width might reduce down to that 8 feet. We can go to the next slide, which might be more questions.
The one that's, yeah.
All right, so then we talked about concrete, and I think the next one was gonna be feelings about asphalt. So if we're looking at the options between concrete and asphalt, thinking about the differences and the benefits and cons of the others, we've heard a little bit from folks, asphalt being a little bit easier on the knees, perhaps. Some other options I can think of is, you know, concrete might be smoother for somebody riding a skateboard.
Maybe one of the newer paths that has been put in is the Canyon Run Trail, and that's all blacktop. It's easy for almost anyone to use. And feels pretty good walking there.
And I'm pretty sure that I've never seen a bicycle rider on this particular trail. I'm not sure about skateboard.
Any comments online? Oh, got one behind us.
Yeah, actually, one end of that trail is the cul-de-sac at the end, that's, you know, 150 feet from the front of my house, so. Yeah, same, I don't, you know, once in a blue moon, there might be a bicycle on there, but it definitely doesn't seem like a primary bicycle pathway. More, you know, more dogs and strollers and walkers.
This week I met a biker from out of town, and he was asking me which trails he used. The rougher the better. He preferred hilly and bumps and everything that a normal walker does not want. So it may not be the trail that they want to use.
Yeah, sure. Folks who are getting around for utility are definitely picking different trails than folks who are looking for that rough mountain biking experience. I think we have another question, or is it another slide? Thank you guys for bearing with us. We're having.
A little bit of,
Up on the screen, but not
It's
translated.
showing up on that screen, it's just not translating, it's okay.
so, what is most important to you in selecting a surfacing material? Have we,
Yep,
sorry, as a trail user, how do you feel about concrete surfacing?
hit that one,
And as a trail user, how do you feel about asphalt surfacing?
okay.
And that is the last
Okay.
question. Oops.
Okay. Now you have questions, I guess. That was the whole presentation. It was pretty easy. This is not a lot of work that we're doing, you know, I mean, it's a lot of work from an engineering perspective and from a construction perspective, but not much hopefully will change. It's already asphalt, so.
At the airport end, where's the appropriate place to park?
I'm gonna throw that one to either Corey or Eric.
At the airport end, we're working simultaneously with the airport. They're going to redesign, when we start doing the hangar work, there'll be a new parking lot there. And we were hoping to incorporate this into the end of the parking lot, kind of roughly where you see the dotted yellow line right now. So it actually go someplace instead of just in there at the end of the road. It still allows you access to the, an improved trail behind the airport that goes back down into Tent Rocks. Then it also allows you to catch up with the sidewalk that's in future phase there, to go back all the way up to, the road 502 there and make a loop if you so choose.
One question I have is can you really look at what can be the opportunity? This thing you call, it trails off into a dirt path, well, that's the Pueblo Canyon Rim Trail. So it's part of our trail system that isn't particularly worked on, or I don't know the right thing. But there's a real opportunity to think about that in context. You can even see where it connects over behind that, I don't know if it's a boiler building or something by the airport where the trail continues, but it's that whole section there that parallels that parking lot to the north of that parking lot. This, you know, doesn't mean it can't connect into a sidewalk at the airport or something, but the most important connection is that trail right along that connects you right up to go all the way out around the end of the airport. Similarly, there's a junction with I guess I would call it a little connector trail. It's marked where it's kind of a little steep chute. It's fine. I use it all the time. One issue, yeah, so that one, the one I'm talking about, you might point out is where the connector is up near the beginning, near the senior center to go down and connect with the Canyon Rim Trail and down over to Graduation Point. And that's a great little trail. It's kind of rough in there and had a whole bunch of different things happen there. And when you get down and intersect with the Canyon Rim Trail, there's no signage or anything. So, you know, I write about these trails and it's hard to describe to people how you actually even stay on the Canyon Rim Trail. That's one other thing that I think should be noted, that as you're at that point where you're talking about it going into a dirt path, the Canyon Rim Trail actually then descends into the forest and parallels this Mesa Trail all along that whole distance till you get down close to Graduation Canyon. And that's a very difficult thing to describe for people. How do they stay on that trail? I would think most people don't know it, would just stay on the paved trail and not even know that they've gotten off of the Canyon Rim Trail, because it's not a very clear thing. In fact, it's a little odd, because if you go down the Canyon Rim Trail, there's a sign, but it's down there in the woods somewhere, so where you can't really see it. So I think that whole area is a real opportunity in this project. I don't know if it can be an opportunity. I would ask for it to kind of clean up those connections. One other thing that I do a lot is sometimes I'll walk through the neighborhood where someone said they live. Sometimes I'll walk along the road, the airport road, to cut across and go over to the Canyon Run Trail. It's because it can make some very nice distance loops to say, start at, Smith's, walk down here, loop over onto this trail, come back over to the Canyon Rim Trail and back to the car. But it's really just bushwhacking up through that field and along the road to get back out to the highway and cross there.
Those are definitely excellent points, Kevin. We've talked with the airport's staff and looking at some of the initial blueprints has a sidewalk actually coming down this way, so making that connectivity with the new LA Mesa alignment will give that connectivity so folks can make a shorter loop if they want to get over to Canyon Rim or take the dirt trails. But when I walked with the engineers, I pointed out every connection and connector to our multi-use trail system and verified with them how important those connections were. Also, some of the history, this trail is actually built in 2006 and has not seen any maintenance for 20 years. So that just kind of gives you an idea of how that asphalt held up to the years out there. And we do plow it in winter time, so there is some machinery on it, but for the most part, yeah, there has been very little maintenance done over 20 years.
Any other questions, comments? Anybody online, what somebody's thinking? George, got a question.
Actually, just a comment, I think, Kevin's point about if we're gonna, especially if we're gonna put in kind of a more formal trailhead parking at the end of that airport parking lot. Just making sure that we end up with like perhaps interpretive signage and signage that really kind of directs to the other possibilities off that, because you can have a great we're gonna have this fully ADA accessible trail that goes around and ends up at the park, which is really nice. But then to point people towards the other options for folks who are looking for that more challenging hike, would be great. And and then they're also not all driving down my street.
And I think you're right on, because we do have a really nice kiosk at the beginning of the trail East Park now. And once that ties into the park, that'll be another great point. And then, Kevin's point to having more signs that when you see a single track trail, that you know what it is and where it goes.
And I'm wondering, is there anything that can be done to make a better connection with the Aspen Ridge facility? I know it's private land and although, can we make a nice smooth pathway for them to get out of the building and onto the trail?
Yes, so that is in the plans. We have our engineers looking at connectivity there. We had our surveyors out there shooting survey for that area. So that was also a main reason, was to get connectivity to the assisted living to allow these folks access to this trail.
I had almost the same question. At the assisted living center, to avoid that tight switchback, a couple of times I've gone over to assisted living and taken that, is it construction road going down? That little yellow ending tail in there, yeah. Are you planning to do something with the construction?
Yes, that line right there will be an alignment that it'll probably pinch point down due to how tight it is, but it will fall under ADA standards to allow those folks to access the trail. Yes.
Yeah, that tail right there by assisted living is a very gentle way. Yeah.
Yes, and well, this steep grade will be addressed with how that new switchback is formed.
Except that you're really not supposed to park anywhere near the assisted living, so if that's a trailhead, it's more, what do you suggest?
It's a walking access point for the folks that are living there. The trailhead is kind of hidden. Here's the actual parking lot where we recommend folks park to access gas parking. Great, well, we thank you for your time and showing up on another community meeting for us. We know your time is valuable, so we appreciate your time.
And if you want to keep up with this, well, as we get a little closer in design, we'll have another, at least one more follow-up. But you can keep up with the information. Tonight's meeting will also be published on our community services project page on the county website, so keep up with that and all the other stuff. And I'd be remiss not to make a shameless plug for another public meeting we have tomorrow night at the library on the 3rd floor. Where we'll be talking about the renovation of the urban park for tennis, basketball, wall ball, and sand volleyball pit, along with how do we find some ADA parking over there as well. So we'll be doing that one tomorrow night. If you want to see some of the work we've done, North Mesa pickleball courts and tennis courts are some of our latest ones, as well as we did the basketball court at East Park, with that one. So again, a lot of opportunities coming up, and again, thank you. There's their email, if you want to email them direct, which will be on our webpage as well. So thanks again, and I appreciate you coming out tonight.
If you want to take any public comment forms with you and then just email us after, they have our email addresses on there as well, or share it with your friends. Thank you.